Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Video Game Collectors Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rose, and with me as usual is Josh Byerly.
Yep.
There he is. And we have a special guest today. Pieter, I'll let you introduce yourself, actually.
So most of you probably know me by my handle, Speedy Nes. I think even my face is rather unknown to most collectors. I'm connected to a few of you on Facebook. But I'm really excited to be on the show and hopefully share a few things about the collection, how it all started with me collecting, and yeah, have a nice chat with our awesome hosts, Matt and Josh.
Awesome. I'm stoked. I haven't known Pieter very long. Just some quick chats really in Instagram. But I could tell right away. I mean, Josh told me you were like one of the nicest guys ever, and I could just tell by our quick interaction. I was like, yeah, seems to be correct. But then he was saying, I want to hop right into it because I didn't know you're from back in the day, correct?
Like, yeah. So I started in the community with Digit Press, with RF Generation, and with NintendoAge, so around 2005.
Wow.
But I actually go much further back. So I go back to 1996, 97. I collected for about a year, and then I cut off completely. And then I re-entered around the time that I think Josh started as well, right? When did you approximately start, Josh?
About 99, 2000.
Okay. It's a bit later. Yeah.
No, but I mean, were you on NES World before Digipress?
Not before, maybe. Remember TSR? Yeah. TSR's archives?
Yeah, Kevin Gifford.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Atari headquarter. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I was in the late 90s. I was checking that side a bit, and then I don't know if Nes World was already around. I mean, I was on Nes World around the time of 2005, when it was still relatively active. I think it was Nes World. It was Nes Forums. Mm-hmm. Digit Press was already around for a while, but the forums were also relatively new, right? I think around 2000, 2001.
Yeah. Whatever. Were you on the site Pal Rocks at all? I don't ever know what happened to that site.
Yes and no. So it was run by Dutch collectors. It was a nice site in terms of, it was not the biggest one in Europe, actually. The biggest one was, at least one of the biggest ones was in Germany. It was Nes Center. Did you ever hear of that one?
I remember that. Yeah,
and that one was Parox was came a bit later. It was predominantly from the Netherlands, but a lot of Europeans did go there. I found that there were very many resellers, so I didn't get the same vibe as on NintendoAge or RF Generation, where people were really collecting long term, for very different purposes. I feel like that Parox was more about people, trading, buying and selling, but a lot of resellers. So I was also a bit hesitant to share information there because, well, it'd just be upping the competition a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now, if you said you got started in 96, 97, first of all, how old are you, right? If you don't mind me asking.
So I'm 36.
Wow.
I was very, very young when I started. This was, maybe I should go back to the roots. I've always been a collector. That's really where it started, I think. As a kid already, when I was, I think 6, maybe 7, in Europe, you go to school, even at that age, you tend to walk home. And maybe I was a bit older. But I'd find random things on the street, lying around, and creativity would kick in, and you kind of collect and sort things and find consistencies and similarities. And like beer caps, for instance. I was living in Berlin at the time, and there were a lot of beer caps on the street. And then I recognized, they have batch codes on the back. And so you start kind of sorting. It sounds really crazy, right? But sort of applying some of that collector mentality.
No.
And so that's kind of where I guess I recognized it. And then it quickly transitioned into stamp collecting. I think I was 7 or 8 when I started with that. And I did it quite meticulously. And so both of my grandfathers at the time, they collected stamps, and they noticed it as well. So from one side, they passed on their stamp collection to my brothers and I, but it was mostly me. And I did that for a number of years. So it really started, I think, in terms of an actual collectible that started with stamps. And then we moved to the US, where sports were really big and lots of people were trading sports cards and sports items. And we also got into sports cards, my brothers and I. And so then it transitioned to sports cards, from sports cards to basketball cards, from basketball cards to Michael Jordan cards, from Michael Jordan cards to Michael Jordan memorabilia. And that's when I made the transition towards Nintendo NES.
So now, what was Nintendo your first system, or like, did you grow up playing video games, or did you just?
Yeah, so I grew up with two brothers, and so we were always three players, and our dad always jumped in as the fourth player. So we were a gaming household, so we were really pretty heavy gamers throughout our teenage years, and that definitely played a role in how I ended up collecting NES. I didn't grow up with the NES. Friends of mine had the NES. We had the Amiga. So we lived in Germany at that time, and the Amiga 500 was extremely popular. It was 16-bit, so it was a little more advanced in graphics, more arcade-like. But then when we went to the US and we got into the Super Nintendo, which was awesome. And one of our favorite games was Ultima, the Ultima series. And on PC, this was Ultima 7. And then at a second-hand game store, we saw that there was an Ultima 6 for Super Nintendo. So one of my brothers, he bought that game and was playing it. And I was checking out the manual, super excited, because back then, these role-playing games, you had so many cool illustrations in the manual and tips. And so I'm looking through the manual, and at the very end, I see this note. And I'm just going off memory right now because I've not actually looked into this manual in more than 20 years. But it said something along the lines of, if you like this game, be sure to check out earlier installments of the series on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And so I thought, oh, wow, that's awesome. Let's check this out. So we went to Funkoland. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was Funkoland. Wow. And I bought a used Nintendo NES with the aim of getting one of these Ultima games, and they didn't have it, But as you know, Funkoland at the time, they had a huge selection. It was super cheap compared to now. I mean, it was $1 for many, many games. I think the most expensive one was maybe $20, And I was, of course, really young. I was spending my allowance, so for me, they didn't have Ultima, but I thought, well, I'm here anyway. Let's check out what else they have. And every game that didn't sound like a sports game that was $1, I basically spent my allowance on. And that's kind of how it started, because that's where I took home quite a few games and got my interest going for this 8-bit NES. But before I had any Ultima, I think I was in the direction of maybe 100 games or something like this, because there was also this rental store close by to where we lived. And it was a very small, privately owned chain of 3 rental stores, video rental stores, but they were selling their NES games at $3 a piece.
Wow.
And so every week I would go, when I'd have my allowance, I'd go after school, I'd go by there and pick out a few games or a couple of games to buy. And then, and that's how it all really started. I think it took a year for me to get an Ultima game. But at that point, my whole attention had diverted from wanting to get Ultima to, to just admiring these games, especially because this video rental place. So there's a couple of things that happened with that place. And then I'll stop talking.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
So the first, they had a lot of unlicensed games, which to me was super intriguing, because up to that point on the Super Nintendo, for instance, everything was consistent. And suddenly there were these golden Camerica cards and these blue, Color Dreams cards. And that just fascinated me. And the second thing was that I bought so many games there, and I was this little kid, so the owners, the location where I would go to, the owner was always present. And this really nice lady. And at one point she says, would you like the manuals? And I was like, the manuals? Because they came in these clamshell boxes with photocopied manuals, Yep. I'm like, oh, yes, sure. And she's like, well, I think I have some in the back. And she goes to the back, she comes out, and I kid you not, I kept the boxes because they're so, for me, so nostalgic. She came back with 2 of these boxes, these big boxes, completely full, with almost every manual from the NES library, mint condition, because they just put it in there after buying the games. And then I asked her, how much do you want for this? And she said, well, you've been such a good customer, $5. And I was like, wow, So,
Oh my gosh.
to this day, it's still the best score I've ever made, the best deal I've ever had.
Were all the staples removed and you had to put staples back in them?
Yes, exactly.
And Matt sounds familiar, right?
Yeah. We had to do that with Universal, my childhood rental store. Same thing. I bugged them for 14 years, and they sold to me, and I brought Josh in on it because the first time I ever met Josh, he's like, that Universal store? He's like, we need to get those games. And then he just kept bugging me until we did. But yeah, not to veer, but the same thing. They had all the manuals. They were all mint, but they were all pulled apart. So we that is awesome.
So, yeah, it was really, and the cool thing was, at that age, again, when we got these games, as I'm sure you all remember, we would look in the manual and look for screenshots and look for things to give us an idea of what to expect. Yep. Especially if you had brothers or siblings and they were playing the game and you had nothing better to do, you look in there and you see coming out. And so suddenly I had all these manuals, like 800, 900. I mean, even Panesian manuals were in there, 2 of each, crazy enough.
The Panesian manuals were in there?
Panesian manuals, they had them, but they didn't have them for sale because the kids could buy the games there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. By the time I figured that out, they were gone. I asked about it, but yeah. Wow. But yeah, I was looking at each of these manuals, and that's when I really started making lists. Like, oh, I want this game. Oh, I want this one. Like, I remember Motor City Patrol, looking at that manual and thinking, oh, that looks so cool. The top-down view, and yeah. Anyway.
Wow. You had some great rental stores if they had Panesians in the rental store.
The kids didn't know about them.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Motor City Patrol's a good game. I like you throwing that out there. Some people said it was like influential in what Grand Theft Auto, it was influenced.
Exactly. Yeah.
What Grand Theft Auto became. So it's a very hard to find game on Nintendo. Always has been. So.
Yeah. I think I pieced mine together. So I always had that manual, and then at some point I had to get a box, and yeah. Actually, sorry, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
So let me ask you this: how long did you live in the States? I didn't know you lived in the U.S. for a time.
About 7 years, 6-7 years.
Okay. Would you say that since you lived here in the U.S., it made you want to collect both regions more, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm mostly an NTSA collector, US collector. I go for all the PAL exclusives. I go for some crazy PAL stuff, but I don't actually care that much for PAL games. I never had that association because of living, I guess, in the US, or there's probably various reasons, right? I think the main collecting community was mostly in the US, also around the time that I got back into it. And so for me, there's always been this element of, or this goal of, okay, let's go for a game collection. And that was in US NTSA games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had a sealed Myriad at one point,
yeah,
right?
I think it's the one that was on Heritage on the cover. It's one of 2 games I ever sold, from my collection, where I thought to myself, well, that's a really good deal they're offering, because I think I sold that in 2006, and it was, I think,
Did you sell that to Dane?
I sold that to Dane, yes.
Okay, I had that copy. I bought it off Heritage.
Oh, awesome. Oh, cool.
I sold it. I'm sorry.
That's cool. So it's passed around a bit, huh?
It's passed around,
yeah.
Where did you come up with that copy? I'm curious.
So I got it from, that's a good question. I got that from presumably the original source of the sealed Myriads. So if you look at the sealed Myriads serial numbers, and I don't have them handy right now, I used to track them, they are pretty close in terms of what numbers they have. I think they're around 514, 516, 519, etc. I bought it off of a news group posting in 1996 or 97. So that small stint that I was buying, I was already on active on, I think it was Auction Web at the time, and I was selling some secondhand stuff for my parents, and I could get a bit of a margin, so I could pump up my allowance, to spend on collectible stuff. Then I was also on the news groups, and that's where Cheetahman was sold by Mike Etler, and also this Myriad. And I don't remember all the details. I just remember that I was on the news group and that I bought it. And I'm pretty sure I paid $20 for it. And even though I was really young, I already had this collecting mindset. So I was really meticulous, and I decided not to open it. I'm really happy. Same with Cheetahman. I still have my original Cheetahman 2 copy, mint factory sealed from back then. So,
Good.
Yeah, good times.
Wow.
But I mean, if we do a search on Google, there must be a way, right, to look back at the old news groups. I know there are certain archive or domains that you can look at, and maybe we can find that thread where they were for sale, because that might be an original source related to where they might have originated from.
That's a good point. Yeah, I did go down the news group rabbit hole probably last summer for some Atari stuff. I was looking for a Condor Attack, but I didn't find it. But I did find a bunch of sealed Atari games from a guy that lived in Portland, just a couple hours from me. So
nice.
I ended up buying a bunch of sealed games, but it wasn't the goal in the beginning. But there's gems out there still.
Absolutely.
So, I know that Google has indexed a bunch of those in some way, in their archives. So you can, and it's all within Google Archives. So it's not like its own web page anymore.
You're not taking.
Yeah, there's probably a way.
You've checked the Wayback Machine and all of those. No,
I've not checked. No, I've not even looked into this. This is just an idea that popped up. There's really a lot that can still be found, especially nowadays with all the archiving going on. Also in terms of news articles, lots of interesting stuff.
So it was called newsgroups, like just newsgroups.com or something like that? Or?
I think it was called, well, they were based on the domains. I think it was classic.games.com or .newsgroup, something like this. And you used to use, what was it called? Not Thunderbird. Was it already Thunderbird? No, it wasn't. It was before Navigator. You had Netscape Navigator.
That was Prodigy.
Sorry?
Getting on with a browser. Is that what you're talking about? Through a browser?
Through a email client. That's how I would open up. So it was almost like an email client, and then you had
I know Earthlink and Prodigy had their own use groups that you would get on, and it's kind of like if you got on AOL and they had their own message boards. Like you kick up AOL and it has its own thing. That was like the expansion of the news group sort of thing.
So
it was like bulletin boards.
So Google's not going to have an archive of that because Google wasn't even.
No, but they have gone back and scraped some of the old news groups, and then.
Okay.
I know that they're out there. They're archived in some ways, so
that might be.
It takes some digging.
Bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
okay.
You need a free evening for that, or maybe even a free day to really, once you get going, you're so in the zone, you don't want to stop, and yeah.
Wow.
I do that all the time with crap, trying to figure out where all these promo boxes are and who ended up with them, and it drives me insane. I got the Roger Clemens from you, but
yes,
I'm still looking for more.
I anticipate it, so I have them handy.
What?
Bunch. Maybe you can get inspired, or at least know where some of them went.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
So that the news groups were in. That was in 96, 97, or was that 99, or when was, what year was that hopping off?
I don't know. I honestly, I'd have to really, I don't know. I don't know how we would discover that. It was definitely between.
Matt, they would have been around from the early 90s or beyond, before, when people were getting online in the beginning. That's really what they were based off of, the original getting online and communicating with people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
but then you said you stopped after 97, 98, 99 for a while, and then you hopped back on kind of around NintendoAge. Did I catch that right?
Yeah. So what happened was that obviously you start getting puberty kicks in and stuff, and you start doing some other things. And I was really into sports as well, and so and of course gaming, that takes a lot of time. So I moved away. I kind of sheltered the collecting, and moved back to Europe. And then around the time that I was in college and you know, I was looking on eBay again in Germany, finding some things that when I was in the US, they were really rare, and suddenly here they're attainable, and I got excited. So I bought a few things, and then I thought, well, hey, I should look what I have. And that's actually how I got back into the community, because I went looking for rarity, and Mike Etler's rarity list was still going strong, but Digit Press had a really more up-to-date rarity guide. And so I bought the seventh guide, the 7th edition of their guide at the time. And then I also went on their website and I kind of looked, oh, what do I have that's rare? And so I unearthed my entire collection, discovered that Myriad and Cheetahman were, amongst others, like really, really rare. And so I made a post. I think there was like a thread about what do you have that, share your rarities. And so I posted about it, and then I instantly started getting offers from people, including, of course, our favorite sealed collector in the world. And at the time, of course, I didn't know who he was, but I started getting all these offers and realizing, oh, apparently 2 things happened. There's a lot of interest, and the market value of some of these things had gone up, because some of these offers that came in were already into 4 figures. Wow. And so I was quite surprised. So I dived a bit deeper into things, doing more and more research, and you know how that goes. And then you go down that rabbit hole. And at that point, all the nostalgia came back, and I got really into it. So mostly in our generation, by the way. So when we're thinking in terms of forums, I was active on NES forums, on NES World forums, on Digit Press a little bit. But before NintendoAge, it was RF Generation. And they're still going strong. And they're an awesome community. I have not been active there in a very, very long time, unfortunately, but I was very active in helping them populate also their database with scans. So I was scanning a lot of stuff. And that kind of transitioned into NintendoAge, because I met Dane already through NES World. I was chatting a lot with Dane, with a few other people too, like Jason, like NJD, and some other big names that Josh might also remember, Hakan, for example. And then of course Dane was telling me, hey, I'm working on this awesome project, it's going to go live soon. And I think I was member number 5 or 6 on NintendoAge. So as soon as he told me it was live, I signed up, and then I was quite active there for a while. And I was a moderator up until I think 2012, and then I took more of a distance from the community. I was still lurking a bit, but there were a couple of years that I took a bit of distance from the collection just for personal development and other things. And then at some point I got back into it, but not so much the community. So my collecting for many years again has been going very strong, but the community changed. That's really what it came down to for me. The close knit, let's help each other. We're here in it for each other as well. That whole community feeling kind of dissipated. And then from that point, I felt less inclined, because I love sharing, the things I find and documenting. And but at some point, when you notice that there is, that it's also being misused and that it's working a little bit against you in terms of competition and such, then of course I'm a bit more hesitant.
When did you? I'm curious, because I have my own opinions on it. But when did you really feel that disconnect from the tight knit? I know for me, when I felt it in NintendoAge, but when did you personally kind of feel, even if it was like a year or 2, when did you generally feel that come about in NintendoAge?
It's a tough one. Around plus minus 2010. I would say. Maybe a little bit before, maybe a bit after. That's about a decade ago.
Yeah. That's like money. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I think prices started rising. You had a lot of these flyby collectors who came in and they seemed to want to invest a lot in the community, but then they pulled out real fast. And so there was a lot of dealing and wheeling going on. I think that's also when people became more aware of backdooring and these kind of things and these stories coming up. So that kind of taints the community a little bit as well. Of course,
I feel like about that same time too. And I always like to take it back to when smartphones and the access to information really became relevant for on-the-go type of people. You didn't have to be super educated to know the value of a game anymore.
Yeah.
You could be at a garage sale, flip open your phone, look up a value on eBay, and away you go. So I think a lot of people got on there for price checks. Oh, what's my game worth? Yeah, that's great. We can help you out, tell you what it's worth. But then it just, the access to information just became so prevalent for everybody that it kind of took the fun out of actually knowing, you know, having the upside of, you know, people like us that we've done deep dives into this, and we really understand in and out what makes an item unique, interesting, and valuable. And it kind of just dumbed it down. I feel about that. That was the same time too for me.
Interesting word choice, dumbed it down, because I was having a bit of a similar thought coming in, that a lot of people started following the mass articles going around of this is rare, this is hot. Whereas, of course, the truly rare stuff is so rare that you don't know about it. And I think as people started withholding that information, these things started going under the radar. And that even made, at least for me, it made me want to hold some of that information back even more, because then I felt like, hey, I can get these things, you know, I don't have to be checking eBay all the time. I can, you know, pull a trigger real fast. If people know about it, then, it's better in that sense. So, a bit of dumbing down. Yeah.
I personally joined NintendoAge in late 2008, early 2009, and I felt like I was really fortunate because when I got in there, I felt, even though it's over the internet, I felt the tightness and the tight knit, especially when I met a bunch of the guys there at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And then, just like you said, it wasn't much long, maybe a year after that, I just felt it just starting to. It felt like I was ramping up so fast that the tight knit community was just like spreading out, and it wasn't. It just didn't. So, I agree with both of you.
I think there was still community within it. Don't get me wrong on any of that, but
it was just a separation.
It separated. It became cliquey.
Yeah,
stuff changed.
Yeah.
You know,
fragmented.
people were button heads.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all there for the same reasons. And then people would get upset, you know. I don't know.
Good memories, though, right?
Yeah, very nostalgic just for that. You know, NES World, I love to death. I think I emailed Martin one time, probably in the last 2-3 years. I asked if he wanted to sell his site. I was like, I'll buy it. I'll buy your website, start the forums back up, because it's just dead sitting there. But great information on that site.
Lots of good information. Yeah. I remember that at some point, and probably this was around 2010, some of the collectors that were very close from the early days of NA, we started moving more towards private topics where people were just inviting each other and then sharing information as well.
Yeah.
And that's happening a little bit on Video Game Sage as well. So, more fragmented. Yeah.
I know Braveheart, Eric, was trying to get me to be a moderator for years and years. He's like, trust me, there's better conversations going on behind the scenes than there are in here. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't want to be a moderator. But
if there was one area that I wished was archived on NintendoAge, it'd be the moderator section.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh man.
I always just remember as Josh being the hammer on Nintendo. He would just come
I just didn't want people getting ripped off, Matt. That's it. I hate.
You were pretty blunt back then.
Somebody told me they were gonna sue me and Dane, and Dane's like, "Yo, you have to say sorry." I'm like, "No, fuck that guy."
Yeah, it's funny.
Hasn't changed too much.
So, Speedy Nes, tell us about what makes you a collector, I guess, for Nintendo games. What is it that drives you today?
Today, it's a good question. It's it changes a little bit over time. I think that the goal from the get-go, from the very beginning, was I would like to have everything released for this Nintendo NES. I think back when prices were not so extreme as they are today, relatively speaking, I think many of us started that way because the knowledge we had was limited. And so we thought that the finite set of items that exist must be rather limited. And so it's attainable. And then at some point you start realizing, oh wow, there's more out there. There's variations, and now people get more and more nitty gritty with with different versions and different print codes and chip codes and dates and everything. And at some point that whole supply or that whole set just kind of increases, and you have to make certain boundaries. For me, that ultimate goal of wanting everything still exists, but I've become realistic in terms of how to approach it and how to create subsets and how to create smaller milestones and slowly but surely work your way towards it. And I mean, I'm far from it. I'm sure there's so much out there. It's insane. I mean, I figured maybe if there's ever an opportunity to come on again, maybe then I can go more deeply into the accessory collection, which has just, it's a world of its own. But there is so much out there. And I still try to, it starts with documenting it. And then once you know it exists, or once you assume it exists based on documentation from the heyday, that seems plausible that something might have come to market, then I run searches and such, and I try to attain these items. And of course, through trading and dealing, you try and offset the cost a bit, and try to make it cost neutral, which is pretty tough these days, of course. But I think we all attempt to do that to some extent. And that's what really makes me happy these days, still after all these years, is finding something that I didn't know existed. And better yet, if it's something that I assumed existed maybe even 20 years ago, and then find for the first time after 20 years. I mean, that sensation is phenomenal, and it still happens. It does, more often than you'd imagine. I mean, every month I find new stuff after all these years, just not even really spending tons of hours on it, but just running basic searches and having search queries running in the background.
Wow. So now was your focus, did you have any specific, was it CIB? Was it, I mean, when you're talking about filling in sets, did you care about sealed at all? Or did that just come along? And if you had a chance at a sealed copy, sure, but you're really going after CIB. I mean, what was your...
So I sold some amazing sealed games for really low prices, especially compared to today.
Yeah.
I was not a sealed game collector.
Okay.
And it's a bit of a pity. I always cared about condition with games, but games were very attainable. And once my CIB set was more or less complete, I decided to put my resources, my time and energy and money into items that might never appear again. And so, and I think when you've been an NES collector for a long time, like Josh as well, you get an eye for what has not been available before and what might be rare and how to find these things, how to look for them, where to look for them, etc. And so that's where I put a lot of energy in. And so my lots and lots of obscure stuff, in terms of accessories, in terms of memorabilia, in terms of, I mean, I really went down the rabbit hole in some areas, even trying to go for every print of every book that is NES related. Wow. And so finding out this is information that's not out there, right? So that made it fun and exciting, because it's like you're in uncharted territory and you're actually identifying certain things, and it's a challenge. I think that's maybe one of my main drivers, is I like to be challenged, and this became a way to challenge myself. Like if you're playing Mario Kart and you're doing a ghost, you're doing a ghost race or whatever they were called, where you're racing against your best time, that you keep trying to challenge yourself more and more. But for games, it was CIB from the get-go.
Okay.
And also preferably with all the variations. And some games I would keep sealed. So I would only really sell a sealed copy at the time if I got a nice CIB copy to replace it with, and then be able to analyze, what are the codes on the manual and the cartridge, and look for variations. Wow. But it's a bit of a pity where the market has gone in terms of a financial, mindset. It would have been better if I would have dedicated all that time and all that money into sealed games as opposed to more obscure stuff. But I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm happy with all the obscure stuff too.
So that explains like in the background where you have, I can already see you have like 4 of one, 4 of another,
yes.
5 of another. I'm like, okay, variations.
17 Zeldas, I think.
Yeah.
Or those Tengen games.
Yeah, sorry, I should probably move. Those are
Tengen. Okay. No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I remember I posted a photo on it was the Room of Doom on Digital Press,
Hmm.
the thread there, and I was like, oh, here's my game collection, and I had, I think, 4 different copies of, this is like 2004 or so, 2003. I had 4 different copies of Legend of Zelda on my shelf,
Hmm.
and I got so much flack. They're like, why do you have so many copies of Legend of Zelda? Why do you need that? I'm like, every one of them is different. I'm
Yeah.
strange that way, I guess. And you know, people have changed their tone since then, but there's always been something. You know, why do
Yeah.
people collect? Why do people game? Why do
Yeah.
people do this, that? I don't really question people's motive anymore. So I'm gonna do what I do.
I liken it a little bit to, you know, when you think of these people that have really busy lives and then they have a miniature replica boat or something, right? Like a sailing boat that they work on, and they build it from scratch, and then they paint it, or little miniature things. It's some area in your life where you can exercise perfection or strive for perfection, satisfy the need perhaps for a certain level of perfection, and then so that you don't necessarily need that in other parts of your life. At least for me, that's also a driver. I like to, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and you can't have it everywhere, and so my collection is one area where I can slowly but surely make it grow.
Now, do you share what you are looking for with certain people, or do you just keep that all close to the chest anymore? That you're not putting that out there?
Up until about a year or two ago, I kept it really close. Mm-hmm. One of the people I chat with actually quite a bit is our favorite paper guy, Andrew. And
such a great guy.
He's awesome. And really, and he has helped me acquire so much stuff from abroad and paper stuff. I have a couple of things here that maybe if we have time I can show as well, that I got thanks to Andrew, and of course Eric as well. But I don't chat or share with many other people. No, not that I don't necessarily want to, but I think, you know, as we get older, time is just very scarce, and yeah, it just doesn't really materialize.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that what I really like, and that's why I came on Instagram a few weeks, like 2 months ago now, I think, mm-hmm. to see some of the collectors from the mid 2000s, you know, on Instagram sharing cool things and communicating. And this is something that has really opened up this world again to me, because I this world kind of, the community world or aspect kind of shut down for me for a while. Mm-hmm. And then of course you keep those habits of searching and finding things and buying things and getting excited about these purchases and stuff or deals going. But I was really missing that community aspect, and that seems to have reemerged a little bit at least, which I think is really, really nice to see. Also, yeah. Also the effort, the initiatives happening. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. There needs to be more community with this. It's not fun without it. That's why NintendoAge worked so well for so many years, was that it was community driven. It was, you know, just the natural progression of people wanting to share information with people mm-hmm. and build their collections out of it. It was purely organic site. You know, people built the databases that way, just like RF Generation is. You know, I haven't been on there in years. I check it every now and then, but you know, if people want to make lists, they want to be able to track what they have. Yeah. And so when NintendoAge went away, it was really sad in that respect. But the community part of it, a lot of it was already gone, I feel like, in many ways. Yeah. So, and prices on stuff were pretty stagnant if you were trying to sell things. Collecting, there wasn't much of a drive for discovery, I feel like. So that's what I hope we can get back to. Like you said, finding something new that nobody has thought about looking for. So,
well, I'd love to support that that road, you know, that you're heading on, because I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things that went down with NintendoAge, the community, like you said, was already had already kind of changed or been altered. And was fading away a little bit, the activity level and such. But the resources that NintendoAge provided, the information, and also the anchors or the reference points that people were using for judging whether something was rare, whether something had been discovered before, etc., that's all gone, of course. And you can, and that's really, I think, also something that is affecting the market, or has affected the market, that the information on what is truly rare is actually not out there, not easily obtainable. And so people are following hypes much easier because they're looking for signals on what's hot, what's not. The new collectors, because there do seem to be quite a few new collectors, and I'm sure there's a bunch among them that are also interested in documenting and finding cool things. But that resource kind of went down with NintendoAge. So
yeah, the data points were key. The Google indexed page was when you would type in, "Why is my video game cartridge blue?" and NintendoAge was the first 5 hits on Google. That was it.
Yeah.
That was valuable. So
yeah, that was awesome.
why do I have a blue Bible buffet? Why? I don't know. So.
Do you see? Wait. Oh yeah, you see it up here, right there. All the different Bible adventures. When people come, when someone sees this in person, they're like, "Oh, why do you have so many copies of the same game?" And then I have to explain, "Oh, they're all different versions."
Hey, maybe you can answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
When did they switch the manual in Bible Adventures?
Okay, so I've discovered a few things with Wisdom Tree. One is the box link. You've probably noticed that too, right? That, for instance, Bible Adventures has at least 4 box variations.
Mm-hmm.
And the codes align on the box with some of the version codes. But it seems that, so the manual, I don't know for sure. I think we'd have to open some sealed copies. But at least the boxes, they align to some extent with the software codes.
Okay.
Because what is the Bible Adventures? It's BC, right? The first one I think is BIB001. I think that's the first box code, and then it goes BC1, I think BC3 and BC6, if I'm not mistaken.
And then they added the dual barcodes on the back.
I might have missed that one.
Yeah, so that's like the end of it, though.
Okay.
Yeah. We can just have Color Dreams Wisdom Tree talk. I'm all for that all day.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
There's like 5 of us in this whole world that really give a shit.
Yeah, I was tempted to make that one of my next Instagram posts. On the one hand, on the other hand, I'm thinking if everybody's going to start looking for software revisions of Wisdom Tree games, then us talking about it that might have a little bit increase the demand a little bit, but make it harder to find some that are still out there.
Yeah. And
I actually found out about a new version, King of Kings 1.1, the other day, that I'm now working on a deal to acquire. So there's still new stuff out there. At least to me, I don't know if you knew about that one, King of Kings 1.1.
No, I don't.
But most are 1.3. If you're lucky, a 1.2. Supposedly, I think there's a 1.0, or at least a no version number, which is on BootGod, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Sorry?
King of Kings. Yeah, that's an interesting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was this paper you were talking about? You mentioned you wanted to possibly share something on.
Yeah. Let's see if I can put on the slide. Perfect. Okay, so this was something that I was able to get thanks to Andrew. We know about the Konami hint cards, right? That are, I think one has been found to date, if I'm not mistaken. At least we know they are existing, but apparently Ultra, let me get this in there. Oh, Ultra also had a clue card mail away. So this is, I hadn't seen this before. It's a mail away item. I don't know if I should show this person's address, but it's a mail away item, and it's just a clue card. Tips for Turtles and for Defender of the Crown.
Huh. So I didn't know about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I got really excited when I saw.
Is it about this? What's the size? Is it like a postcard size?
Yeah, it's postcard size. Yeah.
That's cool.
And there were
tip sheet for silent service.
Silent service. Hey, that's worth it right there.
Yeah. Hey, silent service. The Commodore and the IBM release of silent service is actually a very good simulation game. The NES port, just like Defender of the Crown, they're terrible. But
Defender of the Crown was a blast on Amiga. That's what I grew up playing. That was a lot of fun.
I played San Andreas on Amiga. But I was also disappointed with the NES version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they not? Did you guys ever play Race and Destruction Set? I think that was an Amiga game. Oh man,
that's Commodore. Yeah, that's a good game. That's an EA game.
I was really hoping they came out on that with that for the NES, but not. Yeah, wishful thinking. No. Anyway,
hey, Peter, do you ever see this guy?
That's awesome. I do have a spiritual warfare hint sheet from.
You ever see the password sheet?
No, never. I don't think so. I don't think it's in my. Maybe I have a photocopy, because the ones I had, they look like they're photocopied.
It's big. I mean, it's interesting. I was going through my folder of my tote, I should say, of Color Dreams Wizardry stuff, and I had 3 of these stacked on top of each other in a sleeve. I don't know if they ever made them and sent them out for anything. Yeah, I'm gonna go through the spiritual warfare folder and see what it
if you're
aligns with.
Inclined to trade or sell one of the duplicates, keep me in mind.
Yeah, I will for sure. Andrew, I showed Andrew. He's like, I want one.
Yeah, okay. Let him have dibs. But if he does, if you have an extra one, I'd be happy.
Okay, I'll dig through. I'll see if there's any more in there.
Sweet.
So it's kind of this pit of a tote, and I've tried to organize it over the years. I got it all from Jason Smith, so NGD.
I figured, yeah.
And I think he sold pieces out of it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's frustrating because I've tried to track some of it down. There's some artwork that he sold out of it, so
I bought quite a few tapes from him. The U8, the spools, the cassette tapes, the VHS tapes, the 8mm tapes, I think, as well. There are various different ones.
This is
like that one exactly. Yeah.
Bible Adventure Revised. Yeah.
Yeah. He had right here. At some point that he was selling them. I think he kept. I don't know how many he kept, but he seemed to be selling.
Well, I have them all now. So there's a Bible Adventures commercial.
Awesome.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. But then, did you get any of the big ones?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have most of.
I could probably find. Yeah, it'll take too long, I think, to get it for this. This podcast.
I better compare to see which ones you have versus what I don't have in here.
Yeah, so. I think they're quite different, right? These all the ones I have, even from the same game, they seem to be different durations and customized for various radio shows and.
Yeah, they're really unique. I have some reel-to-reel ones too, but yeah, he was just picking stuff out of this stuff from Brenda and selling it, which is
yeah, I remember
interesting to do. What's that?
He had a fixed price per cassette tape and per VHS tape, and you could order as many as you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't sell it all. So.
Yeah. It's awesome, really, Josh. When I found out that you got Jason's collection, at least it, went from the old timers to pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I was able to. When I bought it, it was a ton of money. Now it'd just be gone like that to somebody, but it was a lot of money, and I had to make payments on it. And then I flew out to Tennessee, paid Jason the rest of the money, and they put it in a big U-Haul thing and shipped it to my house. So
yeah, I saw him post the pictures on Facebook of it being packed away, and
yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
But there's a lot of stuff in here that I'll never be able to get rid of just because of what it is. So I have a strange goal of just slowly working and reacquiring these Color Dream items and putting them all back together that have been disjointed over the years. But knowing where they are is half the battle, right? Like knowing that you bought some from him, and that's a good thing. But then there's stuff, and then Brenda, Jason got the bulk of it, right, from her. But then after that, he's like, "Oh, I got everything." He didn't, because she kept selling stuff to random
I bought from
people.
her as well. Actually, I'm going to show you something that you might find interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember when on the Jason Hall, and you mentioned you mentioned it to me, and I was like, no, I can't do that one. That was awesome. That was awesome, though.
Do you know these music books from Wisdom Tree?
I have it.
Oh, you have them.
I have that.
And this one too?
I have that one. I do not have that one.
Yeah, but I saw that when I was talking to Brenda back then, when she gave me the list of what she had available. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Did you? So you bought two? I only have the first one.
Yeah.
So
just one of each, but I wonder if the batteries are screwed in, and I wonder if I should take them out, because if they're going to...
Their watch battery, mine still works.
Yeah?
It still sounds like a donkey when you push the donkey button.
Okay, this one doesn't, but
Wow.
I don't know. It's like I went through this tote yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was sitting here just on the floor going through it, and now I look up and I've been doing it for 4 hours. I'm like, what am I doing? I just went through this shit, but
it's fun, right?
There's so much of it.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's fun because I'm assuming there's a lot of marketing materials in there, a lot of one-off production materials.
Yeah, I have all the all the manual art for Color Dragon, Color Dinosaur, Challenge of the Dragon, and King Neptune. All the pieces of the art that was in those manuals. It's all really cool stuff. And then some of the stuff I know Jason took and sold pieces off here and there, but it's okay. So they, it's a lot of marketing material, because she ended up with a bunch of Color Dream items, which is interesting,
Yeah.
So
you also have this
perfect.
Oh, go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
Did you also get this big standee, this display from Wisdom Tree that I remember Jason? I think it was Jason that had it, right? The really big one, not human sized.
I don't think he ever had one. I have a header piece of the King of Kings, or the Bible Adventure sign. That's it.
Cool. Yeah.
I had two of them. I gave one to Kenneth.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, I've seen a couple other ones out there, but it's part of a bigger display that I can't find any photos of in any of the marketing documents. So, but then there was the big shelf display that you could put like 4 games across and then 6 down or something. So, yeah, I haven't seen one of those. Maybe you have somewhere, but I don't think Jason had one.
Okay. Yeah, I've just seen it sometime. I assumed that it, just based on memory, that it might have been Jason. But yeah.
Josh, you're gonna have to bring. I don't know if you want to ever share that letter at some point. Not on this. Well, I mean, you could, but you remember that letter, that crazy letter we basically videoed? I'm trying to remember who that was from.
From Art Sestro, the third of Odyssey Software.
It was
where he tells the owners of Color Dreams to eat shit and have a nice day.
Yes.
Because they take because he did Moon Ranger. What was the other game he did? I don't remember what it was a reference to, but he was telling they had the license from Odyssey Software to make Moon Ranger. It was the other one he did. It wasn't Moon Ranger, but it was the game that he did first for him, that they could use it and release a cartridge on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then he found out that they were taking it without his permission and putting it on a multi-cart. And they had lost the ROM file, I guess. And so they couldn't get it to work on the multi-cart, and they asked him for it. And he said, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? You have to pay me if you want to do that. And they're like, oh, no, we have the rights to do it. We made the other game. So he wrote him this scathing letter and faxed it to him, and they saved it. And he tells them to eat shit and have a nice day.
You should frame it.
Yeah, it's a great letter. But it's all part of the Moon Ranger history. So
cool.
I did email him randomly, and I was like, I want to talk to you about this letter. And he never got back to me. So I'd love to talk to that guy.
But that's nice, right? Today that we can find some of these people online and see if we can get some of that history back. Yeah.
Yep. No. I've been thinking of creating just a separate Instagram or something to just post these documents from Wisdom Tree and Color Dreams on, so people can see them. More than anything.
Yeah.
But mainly, I like having it as a collection. And I'd love to get it to a point where I can take it and display it at like a Portland Retro Gaming show or somewhere, and
Would be
move it
great.
around.
Yeah, it would be a great exhibit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
I wish I was closer by. I almost made it to PRGE once or twice, but yeah.
That's a good time, man. There's
Yeah, so I've heard.
yeah. What? Go ahead.
Josh, so first of all, I know that's getting a bit late for both of you, right? So don't if it gets too late, just say so. If you'd like, I can show you some of the proto boxes.
Yes.
Yes.
You might find that interesting.
Heck
I do.
yeah.
Let me check exactly which ones.
I get really jealous.
I'm still having display jealousy right now.
Really?
It's like the ultimate podcast background.
Nice.
I like your background as well, though. Really. So just
Thank
different.
you. Yeah.
A bit different.
I don't like showing that. That's just my inventory of shit to sell. So
Wall of seal.
this is my redone utility room.
Oh, so you moved one room over for this now?
Yeah, we put the furnace in. I'm redoing that whole room back there.
No.
I've ordered a bunch of IKEA shelves. We're gonna tile it, put new ceilings in. So everything's out of there right now.
That's why your internet's a little bit patchy, because you're like 3 walls deep.
3 walls deep, surrounded by concrete.
Yep.
That's what she said. Wait. Yo, look at that.
So this is the Bill and Ted's. I think there might be some differences. I'd have to get the real copy. Most of these did have differences, of course. I mean, it is black on the back. That's the one difference.
It's folded.
Wow.
The box flap is folded the opposite way too.
Oh yeah, good observation. Yeah.
And I don't have that one.
I'm sure you have some of the others. I mean, some of them are a bit more out there, I think. This is the same one that you got off me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Maybe to show the viewers if they're watching, it's also empty on the back.
I'm going to do a rookie question here, because I didn't ever buy any of these or collect any of them. Did they make a lot of these? Did they make 1 or 2 on some? I mean, like, because if you said Josh has one of these and you have one, I mean.
So I bought these from the person. I bought a lot of press materials from somebody who was in the industry and who went to every stand at CES. I guess from not a hoarder perspective necessarily, but maybe from a collector mindset already, and asked whether he could take all these things with him. And that's where I got these. And that's also where I got the doubles, the double Roger Clemens that went to Josh, and a couple of doubles of others that I sold to other buyers some years ago. So I don't know how many there are really out there. It might be that they're all coming from this one individual who just got them all. Because if we look here, they do have Velcro on the back. And I assume that the exhibition space would be rather limited. So if these were truly hung up, then there can't be too many of them.
I see.
Okay. Yeah. They used them at shows, and then they also used them in their marketing material in the LJN acclaimed catalogs.
Yeah.
So you'll see some of the different box designs and in advertising. So if you're flipping through a print magazine and you see the ad for Roger Clemens baseball, you can notice that the baseball itself is this version because the baseball on the release box is slightly different. Yeah. But so they used them in advertising. They probably printed a slew of them, not a lot, I would imagine, and a ton of them were probably just gone, destroyed. I had the Arch Rivals one, the alternate box art, and I found it was printed in one of the CES flyers, but I sold that stupidly.
Ooh, I think I'm missing that one.
Arch Rivals, yeah.
I think so.
There's like a completely different orange art cover for it, and I had it and I got rid of it.
It might make its way back eventually.
Maybe.
It seems to be, for a lot of people, collecting seems to be maybe not a cyclical thing, but it has a start date, it has an end date. And then if you're in it long enough, then things,
then
work. So.
Yeah. I had all of the Simpson boxes that were the mock-up ones. See, that's nice.
This is Wizard Tourist. Also with I've seen Bigfoot as well. It's one I'm missing. I know somebody who has one, and I'm trying to make a deal for that.
I have a Bigfoot.
Yeah. So there's at least 2 then of that one.
Yeah. The guy had a Cybernoid, Bigfoot, Arch Rivals, and Total Recall. And I bought Arch Rivals and Bigfoot. And I just let the other ones go because I'm like, that's not an unreleased cover.
Huh.
So
interesting. Oh, it was not an unreleased cover, but it was with the black on the back. Or the black on the, on the rear side. Yeah, this is the Wolverine. There's at least one other one as well, maybe 2.
I think there's about, I didn't know you had one. There's at least 4.
Okay.
So that's good. That's good. I mean, more than one is great because then it gives me hope.
This is very good. This is drastically different from the release version, which I thought was very, very nice.
I owe a guy a game for trading me the Game Boy version of that, the unreleased cover for Game Boy.
You have the unreleased Game Boy one.
Yeah, I have that exact one, but Game Boy version.
Very nice.
Yeah, and Nick Morgan gave it to me, and I have to give him a PAL game, and I just never have. So it's sitting in my shelf over here, and it reminds me I need to give him a game. So.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Hey.
Marcy's Funhouse.
You know the difference in this?
I've actually not. I mean, this is obviously different, but.
Yeah, in the front. So right where, you can't see where I'm pointing my finger at your picture here, but so you see where there's on the seat, where below Bart's feet right there?
Yeah, like here.
There's like an extra rat right in there. If you look at the release version of the box, that rat, there's a rat that's missing. So if you have it, you can tell.
Let's find out. This is the released version. Oh, it's covered with featuring The Simpsons.
Quite a bit different. Well, maybe not.
Oh, it's quite different. The title is quite different too. I mean, I can do it here too. Maybe this is a bit better to see.
Yeah, let's see here. I figured this out. There's an extra rat somewhere on here.
Bart's much bigger on the left.
Son of a bitch.
Because he's closer to the pipe.
I know there's an extra rat on this damn thing.
I think it's up here. Wait, up here, right? Here.
His head. Yeah, above his head because his head covers it. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yes, see where his head is up there. Yeah. So it's really different, but yeah, it's pretty cool. See, I had that too. I got rid of that box. That was stupid.
Oh yeah, it's quite different. Also, the stairs are yellow in the real one, and they're the same color in the steps next to Bart.
Yep, that's a cool one.
Nice.
I had a Bart versus Space Mutants one as well, but I got rid of it.
That one I'm also missing.
I got rid of those.
I wonder if there's one for almost every game.
There is. Yeah. And there's like 3 different Trog ones. See, that's different too. So if you look at Beetlejuice, it's really different.
These are awesome. You think they really made one of these for every game?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that in some cases it wasn't just for advertising. I think some of them were shipped to rental stores
to promote.
To promote or be a display box. And because I've seen stuff like this come out of rental stores. That's where I got a Double Dragon 3 LJN box. Had a rental game in it, and I got it from a big rental hall. So maybe it didn't come from there, but it'd be pretty hard pressed to think that they had a display box, there, that it wasn't shipped to them for a reason. I know that rental stores got like that Doom display box for Super Nintendo. A lot of the harder to find Super Nintendo display only boxes like these, or mock-up boxes.
I know somebody in Europe that did technical. Well, I think he was into servicing items or doing repairs for one of the distributors of the official distributors of Nintendo items in Europe. He had a number. He had 3 or 4 different ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
So of the NTSC ones, probably being sent over. But in his case, it could have just been for marketing purposes for the localized media materials.
Those are great, man. Oh,
he's got more.
This one's very different.
Mm-hmm. It's really different.
Knockout boxing.
Yeah, this one is. Some of the other ones, they were not so easy to figure out that they were different. And I remember when I was buying them, I really wanted the different ones. I'm very happy I bought the ones that have subtle differences.
Yeah, they all, other than a handful of them, they all do. The one that people don't know about that I have a couple of now. They're on. See how the paperboard here is white.
Mm-hmm.
Like on, what were some of the games there? The George Foreman would have been a white paperboard on release anyways, but I got like the game Rambo or Star Voyager. Those would have never been printed on white paperboard.
Same with Beetlejuice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But those games, they do exist with white paperboard boxes because they were also sent out as display boxes. And they have barcodes on the back and everything, but they are a display box. So if you look hard enough, you can find a Star Voyager with a big oval seal and white paperboard, which was never released as a game, but it's a full printed box. I'll get mine out and show one day, but they're pretty cool too.
I'm hearing a lot of titles I had no clue existed.
But they're a little different than these because they're printed on both sides.
Yeah.
They're just. And I think the Rambo I have is a round seal Reve on the white paperboard box, and that never existed that way. So.
Yeah, I have actually. Now that I look at it, they look like they've been used, but from the same person that I bought many of these from. I got a number of released boxes or retail boxes as well that were flattened and never used, that were supposedly handed out to people at CES. Including some from Acclaim, and that's why I imagine that these were probably more likely to be hanging up, and they were also handing out some of the retail versions.
Do you have some of those flat boxes?
Yeah, I have here the whole stack, but I'm just the Terminator 2. So I can show a couple more, and then that's it for this one. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I have that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, of course. I think I saw it on your Instagram.
Yeah, the chick down here is in a bikini. That's different. It's really different.
Yeah, exactly. You made that post about that. That's awesome. Yeah. Nintendo PG. And then.
But if any of those, shit.
Terminator 2. And this one is a little bit different. You can see if you look at that. This is glare from the mobile screen right here. This is all one uniform color, and here it's not. This is the released one. Here you can see the light, the gradient of blue kind of becoming darker, and also here on the head. So that's different between the two, and of course the placement here of LJN. Here it's on the left.
Yeah.
The release version it's in the middle. And actually now that I look at it. They made his eyes look less mean. He looks very mean on this. You see it here, how dark red his eyes are? He looks really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
On the release version, they lightened it to make him look a little more... Maybe that's also not to scare the children or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Let me see. So the boxes that were handed out at CES, the ones I have here, many are from High Tech. Actually, it looks like almost all of them.
Well,
so
there's some High Tech that are similar to these. The Mickey, I've seen a mock-up Mickey's Safari in Letterland. So if you have one of those, could be a mock-up.
I do have these here. These are, they look like full-on retail. This is,
let's see,
Swords and Serpents.
Yeah, that's retail. It's like a cereal board box, right?
Yeah, it's got exactly. It's got the code and the printing weight.
That'd be retail for sure.
But it does have the Velcro.
Look at that.
And it came from the same person. And then the same with this one. Also looks like a retail box, WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. But you can see, maybe you can see with the glare.
Mm.
Yeah, there. It had the Velcro. It has the spots where the Velcro was removed.
Wow. Nice.
So those two, I suppose, were also CS display pieces.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But yeah, I got lucky. This is just one of those lucky finds where you find one person who happens to have a lot of these. If I would have to take the route that you're doing, Josh, of piecing it together one by one, that's quite a challenge.
Yeah, it makes it fun though, right? That's what we talk about. It's about the discovery and finding new things or nuances in this that people don't do. So I really enjoy finding the ones that aren't LJN and Acclaim, the like really strange one-off things that I have a Kabuki Quantum Fighter box, and it is insane. It's completely different, and it's like a cutout, printed, and wrapped over an Air Fortress box.
Did you post about that one on Instagram?
No, I've never posted about it.
Yeah.
John Hancock gave it to me.
Oh, cool.
He thought he had a fake box in his collection because he got it from a scammy dude, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy made this fake box and gave it to me." I'm like, "That's different. It's not a fake box, buddy." So he gave it to me. He was really cool about it. Just gave it. That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Cool shit like that. So
yeah.
Or the Vice Project Doom box I have, where it's reverse.
That one's really nice. Yeah.
The reverse box, and it's like a printed up paper that they pasted on the Twin Cobra box. So it's
the New Kids on the Block. I mean, you have some real treasures, one of a kind.
That's the one, man.
I think when you were the first, you didn't acquire for somebody, right? You introduced it, I think. You made it public, or not, Josh?
No, it was talked about being like a thing, and then it came up on eBay for sale, and it went for like $600 or something. Mm-hmm. It went high, and the person didn't pay, and then it got relisted, and I bought it. So
nice. Yeah,
I was fortunate.
I remember the NintendoAge thread. I'm pretty sure of you posting it when you got it. On the excitement. Those were the days when a post like that came on the forums. You knew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when that was. 2011 or so. Maybe it was before that. I don't remember. 2010, 9. I don't know. But in that time, paying $227 for a box like that was a shit ton of money. It was beat up. If people thought it was crazy, I was like, "This is a one-of-a-kind item. I love it."
I just remembered Otto Limbofunk. He was selling recently a display-only box for Warrior Woods. Did you see that?
Did it sell? I've watched it.
Yeah, I think he sold it. Yeah.
Should have bought it.
I was having the same feeling. I was talking to him about it. I was thinking, should I pull the trigger or not? But I'm sure it sold.
Yeah, he has a Thrill of Safaris box up for $1,800, and I'm like, I'm glad I got one. So,
yeah.
Because I probably would pay those prices on some of the boxes, but the LJ and Acclaim ones, I hold out hope that I can find a nice collection of them one day.
Yeah.
So
there must be. I mean, it's clear there's a few at least out there, and as we know, if there's a few in collectors' hands, then there's more out there for this.
But when those one-of-a-kind items come up, man, I'm gonna go hard on. So I just
I thought you might like this one too. I posted about it on Instagram, but this is a full-fledged prototype CIB of Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy.
I think I saw your post.
So this was also such a lucky find. This person was selling an accessory. That's actually how I found this. One of my accessory searches was triggered for a Joy card, the supposedly the God controller, right? According to the NintendoAge thread, the best NES controller, the Hudson Soft Joy.
Sansui Joy card, yeah.
SSS. And he had a brand new one in a packaging I'd never seen before, and I still haven't seen to this day. And it might have been a prototype. I don't remember him necessarily telling me where he got it from, but the fact that he had this as well made me think that might be a prototype. So maybe I'll show that sometime. But then I was looking at his other listings, and I came across this one, and it went for a steal. I mean, it was an auction. I think I paid $15 or $20, which was
yeah.
And then that was just luck. It was poorly listed, but it has a manual as well. I can show it maybe because that was not on the Instagram post. Let me see.
It's so nice to bring somebody like Pieter on and then show that you can be a seasoned collector and still find stuff and for great prices. I love that.
That's why you're a seasoned collector, Matt, because you can still find deals.
Yeah. You just don't give up.
That's right. You just don't give up.
No.
I mean, it was less than a year. It was about a year ago, a little over a year now. And I found the mock-up Indiana Jones box on eBay for Super Nintendo for $25. I mean, stuff like that does show up.
Yeah.
Just have to get lucky and know what you're looking at. That's half the battle. See, knowing what you're looking at, noticing that it's something different, and taking a risk on it.
And I think most people who see it and they recognize it's different, they might assume, oh, it's a China fake or something, right?
Yeah.
But if you've been in the game long enough, you can recognize small little details.
But even at that point, like all those, the fake the Super Nintendo Korean boxes that are fake, I want to buy those because I think they're cool as shit. But
the bootleg ones from
that's what I'm talking about.
I do that with Master Fighter and Super Fighter because it's the only way it came on the 8-bit, and so I found that a fun little challenge. Yep. This is the manual, so it's got a different shape and cover.
Jeez.
And it's in full. I think it's in full color with all kinds of illustrations and.
Wow.
This was really the funny thing is, when that happened, an accessory search was triggered. I'm checking other auctions. I see a CIB prototype, which is of course extremely hard or rare to come across. And it's of one of the games from one of my favorite games from my childhood. What are the chances? So of course I got it for 15, but I set a much higher snipe, but I got on so many levels, it was just completely lucky. And it was such a nice item to win. That was one of those moments where you're just, as a collector, so extremely happy when you win it and when the seller actually ships it and you get it in the mail.
It's not damaged and it's boxed well.
I'm glad that I can still talk to people that love unlicensed video games. So many people are like, "Oh, unlicensed is just garbage." I'm like, man, Comerica games are so fun. They really are good video games.
Yeah, I agree.
The Ultimate Stuntman is a great game. It's really a fun game. Stunt Kids is one of the best Nintendo games ever made. People just have a bad taste on them, I guess. Color Dreams did make a bunch of garbage. I will admit that. It made some really bad video games and licensed some really bad video games.
Yeah, a lot of the Comerica games, they were big hits on the Amiga and on other consoles in the UK from Codemasters. Of course, the graphics were, I guess, a little bit more advanced on those systems, but
yeah. Have you played the Dream World Pogi game?
No, I have it in the collection, but I have it. I keep my homebrew stuff sealed. The collector inside me. Actually, this is hilarious. All my retro USB games that came in card only, I kept them in the sealed
the bubble, yeah.
And I made these custom. So I put them in oversized cases, and I made a custom label.
That's hilarious.
So here we have Mystic Pillars limited edition. And I just have them all like that on display.
I love it, man.
He needs to come on a show all the time. He'd blend right in.
Do you have you got all your Christmas cards?
No, I don't have. I have from 2012 or 13, something like that. But then I up until maybe 2016, and then I stopped.
Oh, so you don't have the old ones?
No, I don't have the old ones. No. Those are some of the only. Well, not the only. I'm also missing some of the Versus games from Retro USB. But other than that, those I think I have most, at least from the early days.
Yeah.
That was so much fun when somebody would come on NintendoAge and do a quick print run of like 100 or whatever, and we'd have to get on there early and sign up to get like 1 through 10, which would be limited editions. And
yeah,
it's true, right? It was the first limited run games, I guess, in that sense.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun.
And people would try to get the same number.
Yeah.
Seth, right? What was his name?
Seth, 33. Always get Seth.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So exactly. I made a deal with him for a number of homebrews because I had the number 33 and he wanted those.
Yeah. If you couldn't get the number you wanted, you'd get number 33 so you could trade it to Seth.
Exactly. And get something, get a bonus.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for quite a while, collecting and buying. I really like Brian's games, retro USB stuff, but it kind of also got, we talked about the dumbing down of community and how it kind of got disenchanting when everybody and their mother was going to do a special release of a black box, changing this because it felt like a cash grab up to a point. And that's kind of what you talk about it, not having that community feel. So.
Yeah, that's why I stopped with homebrew. So you'll notice if you look at all the homebrew stuff here, some of the stuff that comes out the last few years, especially where people put a lot of effort into it, like Micro Mages, for instance, is one of them. From Berlin, those kind of games I pick up on, but just every homebrew game, it's just a cash grab. To me, at least, it seems a little bit with all the different limited editions in green form and yellow, and then. I just made a rule for myself at some point to stop. I think already 5 years.
You have to.
Yeah.
Didn't have to. I think I had like 5 Bioforce 8 cartridges of the fake one they made.
Yeah, I still have that one too. Yeah, because
I had 5. I had 5 different ones because I needed all the variants because I'm a dumbass. But I got rid of all that crap. I was like, I don't want this stupid stuff. Like one of the cartridges I got, it was all like they used sandpaper and spray painted it, so it had this horrible texture to it. It was horrible. Anyways, we can do a whole homebrew.
Some of the early ones were fun, like Garage Cart. You got some history elements. You have that, right? Don't you, in your collection, the Garage Cart?
No, I traded it to Sam, a friend. So he has it.
Okay.
It's okay. So I'm okay with that.
You mentioned all the different colored retro carts, and that just brought me straight to one that I kind of wanted to buy, but I haven't yet. Do either of you have the Jay and Silent Bob, or does that start getting into the cash grab, trying to kind of feel? I just love Jay and Silent Bob, so I was, it's kind of up my alley. I just wasn't sure if either of you.
No,
I didn't buy it when it came out. When I see them come up for auction, I might place a bid if I'm buying other stuff from the same seller. And I think I bid on the Jay and Silent Bob, but I might not have won. So I'm just looking. No, I don't think I have that one.
I just know they were going for like 100 plus. And I was like, yeah. It's just kind of
I'm out of touch on that whole scene. There's some great homebrews on NES though still being made. A lot of the guys are really nice, and so I'm just out of touch on it. I'm stuck on Glider, man. Just
on Glider.
Yeah.
I still have I was the winner when there was this prize giveaway that if you made a post, one of the people in the thread would win the special edition. I think he had made 5, right? Special edition gliders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a glider. You have a special edition one. That's a cool cartridge.
Yeah, it was the first one from the Christmas, the lighting, right?
It's the first one that lights up.
Let me grab it. So of course I kept it sealed. And
that's great.
It was his first cartridge, I believe, with that was see-through with the lights built in.
Yeah.
I really probably should be opening them, but
that's fine.
As a collector, it's like, yeah.
Oh man, I love it because you just kind of give a different, another aspect to collecting. Kind of like when Andrew came on, he brought in the paper aspect and like the proto boxes, the display boxes, and I just love seeing different aspects and different passions, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I think we should come back and do one about accessories on here. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm game for sure.
Awesome. I have to ask if it's a great question, and I hear it on other channels too, but I just love to know anyway. So house is burning, whatever, you can grab one thing. What's kind of like your personal prize? It's not about value, but just that one thing you'd grab if you could only grab one.
That's an interesting one. I've never thought of it from that angle. I've thought of, maybe most valuable, sentimental, but I'm inclined to go in a direction of something that's really one of a kind. I have an accessory that I've only showed 2 people that that have been to my house, collectors. This was 10 years ago at the time, from the Netherlands, and I've also asked them to keep quiet on it. It's an item that maybe I show sometime on this show or somewhere when the time comes.
Sure.
It has a lot of historical significance, and I would take that, but I think something really unique. So I have these handicap controllers and things like that, not the hands-free, but something different. Those kind of items that if they burn up, you can never replace them.
Yeah.
But having gone the route of obscure items, there's quite a few one-of-a-kinds, or more or less seemingly one-of-a-kinds. But probably that accessory. It's a type of controller display item that I would probably go for that one. But that one's tucked away a bit to keep it away from light and everything. I don't know if that would be realistically, the first thing that I could grab. I don't think that would be the case.
The first thing you would grab is a handful of video games.
I think so. Yeah. I think so, Josh. I think that the assumption would be that I could come back, right? I think the assumption would be grab as quickly as you can and come back in 2 or 3 times.
Get a shopping cart and just go. You got 5 minutes. It's Toys R Us.
Oh, the Toys R Us sprees. Oh.
You mentioned the hands-free, not hands-free controller by Nintendo. Not by Nintendo. I have one too. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah?
It's yellow. It has a yellow foot pedal and a white controller with a joystick on it, and it plugs in with like a headphone port.
Yeah, so that's like the universal handicap accessory, a peripheral type of connector, right? The 3.5 millimeter type jack. So probably mine didn't come with a foot pedal. I have 2 different ones. I have them actually close by here. I can grab them real quick if you want.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about this real quick. Matt, you remember where this came from?
I do. And I all that interest just blew right over my head, and I knew you were getting some sweet stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. You appreciate it, so
yeah.
Especially the
well, we are literally talking to the only other person in the world that really appreciates this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because to me, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm interested to.
And what
I
about
dug into this company a bit.
the pieces of that one? I mean, I don't know if you want to mention that, but the chair or whatever.
The chair, the NES chair controller. I still have it. I haven't put it together.
Which one?
The Nintendo chair controller. Have you seen that?
Yeah, well, there's a few different ones. There's like
I don't know which one this is. It's in pieces, so we're gonna have to build it.
In pieces. Is it, what color is it? Is it gray, black?
It's gray.
Is it gray? I thought it was black.
It's gray.
Oh,
it's down here in mine.
And is it
has,
yeah?
Has two like soft hand controllers with thumb.
Okay, that's either the Super Chair or the Action Chair Action Simulator one.
Yeah,
and you have various different like models. I think just iterations where they did product improvements and stuff. If it's gray, then it's a Super Chair. If it's red and black, then it's more likely to be the Action Simulator.
It's gray, 100% gray.
Okay, then it's probably the Super Chair. There was a new one. Oh, cool.
I think I actually have two of them, and they're in pieces. So.
And did you get them in a shipping box?
No, it was
far from.
It was out of a garage.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think we got all the pieces.
Second-hand used. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where this controller that you're going to show me, and I hope it's the same thing, came from.
So I have them in plastic just to keep from dust from coming in. Let's see if I can put.
That's it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it right there.
Okay, that's interesting.
I have that exact same joystick.
That's very cool because I thought this was the only one. I knew there were two. There's another one from the same company. This one.
Yeah, that's.
Don't have that one.
That's not it.
And this one.
But I have a pedal that goes with that one. The other one.
Yeah, I think the pedal. So there were a few different companies, by the way, that made these kind of accessories. This, I think, is the earliest one. There were a couple up until early 2000s or late 90s that were making them. I've been trying to find them. They're extremely rare, obviously, and they all use these, like you said, right? These connectors with these universal plugs, and there's many companies that make accessories for that. So I wonder if the yellow foot pedal, you said it was a foot pedal, right?
It's the same company. It has a sticker on both pieces.
Oh,
the name of the company on both pieces. I found a guy that used to work there, and I talked to him, and he's like, he was a product development guy, and I'm like, can you tell me what you made, how many you made of this? And he's like, I don't even remember making Nintendo ones. He goes, I remember making Game Boy ones. So they made Game Boy ones apparently.
What's your serial number? Do you know?
I'd have to look. I'll have to pull it out the next time we talk. But it's on there.
They're low. I remember. I've looked in a long time.
Mm-hmm. But there's a sticker under there that says the name of the company. I know.
Yes, exactly. 612 is the big one, but that might just be a general serial, not even specific to NES. Yeah. And the small one is 611.
So sequential, essentially.
Yeah, and obviously not specific to one controller.
Mm-hmm. I'll dig mine out. And we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
So, wow. I'm glad to see that there's more than one.
Yeah, I found so when I got back into collecting in 2005, one of the first things I did was look at my old folder from the 90s where I had saved things from eBay and trying to document and stuff like this. And one picture I had was this, and I could find no information on it. And so I would ask on, I think, Nes World, and nobody knew anything about it. And so I adamantly looked until I found one seller that had both of these. And this was also one of those finds where you look for a long time and you get really excited.
No, when Matt and I were at this find down in California, and that controller was there, I knew that it was a unique item.
Yeah.
And so I'd heard of a third-party hands-free controller in the past, and probably from reading your old posts, actually, but had never seen any photos of them. So speaking of strange things, but cool things, do you know where the case for the Power Glove came from?
No, that's a mystery, really. I've tried to figure it out. There's this rumor, right, that it's a Toys R Us package deal or something. There's too many of them, really, to make it a non-retail item, I would say. So I think the hype and the price that is associated nowadays with it, with the hype, is a little bit, it's overvalued in a way. Because, well, it depends, of course. It's a very cool item. You can carry the Power Glove with it. But if you compare it to other carrying cases that were retail, many of them are much rarer than the Power Glove case. Which makes me think that it must have been retail and probably at a big outlet like Toys R Us.
And probably had no packaging around it, because I've never
Probably
seen
no
anything.
packaging, yeah.
It was probably just like an accessory set on the side. When you bought the Power Glove, you got a free Power Glove box for it.
But what a lot of these cases had back then was just a cardboard cover. And so people, you'd have to literally rip it off to use the case.
Yeah.
It wasn't a box that you just pulled it out of and put it back into it. And so if you rip the cardboard off, exactly, you throw it in the trash. Those are some of the rarest accessories in my collection, are actually sometimes not even extremely rare cases, but having them with the cardboard cover on them is just incredibly difficult to find. And so this might have been the same Power Glove.
Yeah, so if somebody could find one of those with the wrap on it, it'd actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I want to find now.
So we've moved away from the idea that, because I know back when we first got that, we were thinking it was a distributor type of
salesman sample.
Sample type of thing. But we moved
with
away
the
from
Power
that.
Glove.
There's a bunch. There's quite a few of them.
There's a cool one that maybe I can show. It's close to here. From the the Battle Station 2 controller from Australia. It's
I'd have to see it.
Coolest, best controller for NES. I'll if we have time, like a few more minutes.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
if too late for you, then I'll grab it.
Accessories are fun, man.
Heck yeah. I like seeing stuff I've never seen.
But you have seen it because you've been rolling with me, Matt.
This just makes me want to go find collections, because you're going to find cool stuff in there that I'm more interested in now than I was before.
Yeah.
Because now I've seen all the games. I don't care about those anymore.
I don't care about Little Samson. I want that weird hands-free controller.
So this is the Battle Station 2. It's a huge...
that's an awesome controller. I've seen pictures of it.
Wow.
I really, really regret I had this in loose form until I upgraded to this one, and I thought, well, okay, if I have the box one, then I can sell, trade the loose one, and I regret it because it was an awesome piece. It is solid aluminum. It's really high quality. It's compatible with Nintendo. Maybe you can read it here. Wait. Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, Master System.
Wow.
I mean, it's
everything.
Big piece. And the reason I had to think of it is because this one actually has a very rare carrying case for it, like the Power Glove one. I can show that one real quick.
This was epic.
You got 4 Crystal Mine variants up there, I see, Peter.
Sorry,
no, I'm just looking at your shelf of games.
Which variants?
Crystal Mines. You got your Crystal Mine variants up there, I see.
Yes, there's actually one card game variant that I lightly touched on, I think, on the NintendoAge days, that kind of went unnoticed. Maybe that's. I mean, it depends on how much time you guys have. I'm happy to talk about this one.
No, let's see the Battle Station case. Sorry.
So this is it's a massive case, reinforced bottom, the player's choice.
What happened to the Battle Station 1?
First, you all the cables. awesome. I don't know what the one is. Maybe it exists. I've never seen it, but
Yeah, made it for the Fairchild Channel F in the Ballyastroke.
there was actually a second one of these that went up for sale recently in Australia. I think it ended already, the auction, but it's a cool item, I think.
That's great. That's awesome. I've never seen that bag.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Australia has a lot of accessories, but they are extremely rare for some reason. I don't know if they just had low production, maybe different type of lifestyle, maybe. I think the average wealth level is quite high, right, in Australia. So maybe people don't find the need to sell things in the secondary market. I don't know, but it's. I found some really cool accessories from Australia, and I've only seen pretty much every one of them only once, maybe twice. Quite a few arcade sticks. They really seem to like arcade sticks. I actually got another one in. Okay, I'll show that one as well because I just got it in not long ago.
It's amazing how you guys always have this stuff readily available, just right there.
What do you want to look at, Matt?
Show the super chair.
It's called the Master Blaster, and I had won it brand new in the box, I think 8 or 9 years ago. And then 2 weeks after paying, the seller said, here's a refund. I decided I'm not going to sell it or something. And I was so bummed out. So now I finally found a loose one again. It's huge, as you can tell. It's a big stick.
Wow.
And this is, I think, qualitatively not as sturdy, of course, as the Battle Station, but it's pretty big and it's NES compatible. So that really surprises me that they have a number of arcade sticks that are Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, and Nintendo NES 8-bit compatible, which of course makes it fun for me to collect.
Yeah, I love it.
Never seen it.
Never will again, Matt.
No, that was the only time.
Collecting arcade sticks.
And did you find any new, any cool Halo items, Matt, recently?
You know,
yeah, you did today.
Yeah,
found a really cool Halo.
Let's just dive into our wins. You know, I have a very loving mom who is sweet as can be. She's just a giver, and she goes to garage sales all the time. And she was at a garage sale, and she's like, "I'm going to garage sales. Is there anything you're looking for?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, video games." And she calls me up and she's like, they have some games here. There's like, and she just starts rattling off random names and they're not even the right names. And I know it. And I'm like, how much are they? And she's like, they're $1 a piece. And there's this. And I was like, look, if they're $1 a piece, just buy whatever it is. I don't care what it is, $1. And so she comes back with about 15 minty computer games. And I know they're not just crap titles, but I open them all up and they're like basically opened up and never played. And I send Josh a picture of them and he's like, oh, look at that. He's like, you like Halo, you're really going to like that. And I was like, what's that? And so it's Pathways into Darkness. It's one of Bungie's early release.
Yeah, it was only made for Macintosh. It's in the vein of Doom. Kind of that first-person style shooter.
See that?
Cool! Wow.
But
yeah, Josh, you're pretty big into big box PC stuff, right?
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely.
But it is just so nice inside. Everything's perfect. No folds. No. I mean, you would appreciate it, Peter. It's just,
it's strictly a Macintosh game, only made for Macintosh.
So is that the only Mac game in the lot, or were they all Mac games?
I think he had a couple of them there.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix mosh of PC games, and then just
nice.
Random. Battlefield 2 is great. Yeah.
Random stuff.
believe SWAT. I think I had that game back in the day too.
Your PGA Tour Mac games are pretty cool, Matt. That's the first PGA Tour.
Like
No,
these, not that one. The
that's
other one.
okay. No, the Macintosh ones you had. You had a PGA Tour Golf and PGA Tour 2. They're early. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of the gore.
That reminds me, on that question earlier, probably the golfing accessory is another one I would probably take very quickly.
It'd be on one of your runs back into the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I have a very loving mother, and I appreciate her very much. And I was really excited when Josh told me, because I didn't really look at the games yet, and he's like, "Oh, that's an early Bungie release," and so that hits home for me with any kind of Halo.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No,
it's always
keep it.
Part of their development cycle, right? Testing the waters a little bit with that game, and then
yeah. And to me, I'm like, sometimes I question, I hear a lot of people questioning, are people real collectors or whatnot? And I get games like these, and I'm like, I want to go get an old computer or a 486 or something like that, and I want to play these. I want to, I'm like excited.
You're gonna have to get something with System 7 on it to play that, because that's not gonna work on a 486, boy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, an old Mac or.
Got to pull out that Quadra.
Yeah.
And get back to the troubleshooting of those days, right? Where it's just trial and error.
But it's so much fun, and it's not about the price. I'm just like so excited to have these and look at them and touch them and think about and maybe even play them someday. It's exciting.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
nice.
nice Command and Conquer in there too is pretty nice, Matt. I saw. That's a sick game. Everybody needs a Command and Conquer.
That was a classic. Yeah. I never played Red Alert so much, but I did play the original.
Yeah.
I've got the Red Alert, and then
that's Aftermath. Yeah, that's like the expansion.
The Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
Wow, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice copy.
Yeah, the inside's like unplayed, pretty much.
Yeah, most of the time that's a cool thing about PC collectors. Either people threw the shit away, or they just took the game out and loaded it on their computer one time and put it away and shoved it in their closet. So.
Yeah, I think maybe PC gaming was always more of an adult passion, right? I'm sure there's games that are targeted towards children, but computers, Nintendo was super easy. It's a cartridge. You give it to a child who's really young, and it just will destroy a box. But
it's like VHS tapes are to laser discs. Laser discs were kind of the high-end collector. You watch the movie, you enjoy it. You want to get Star Wars or Terminator 2 on Laserdisc. I mean, you're the adult and you have the money to do it, but the kid gets the VHS tape. So.
Yeah, and I don't think kids were necessarily going out and buying like Flight Simulator 98. I mean, that's not riveting, especially at $50. I'm like,
that game is so good, Flight Simulator 98, and I think they were re-releasing that game up until 2010 or so and selling it at like Target. You could buy Flight Simulator 98. Just Microsoft kept re-releasing it, just like they did with the Diablo expansion, the battle chest. So you get Diablo 1 through Lords of Darkness or whatever. So PC gaming's fun. It's fun to collect for. There's so many different variants. There's so many different what print is what. When did it come out?
Is it a bit overwhelming though? Like that's the way so many variations, so many re-releases, classic releases, gold releases.
It's totally overwhelming. You can have direction with sets like Sierra games or, LucasArts games, but once you get past a certain era, it just gets very, very overwhelming with what you want to go and which versions you want to get. So.
I was contemplating it for Ultima, but then I decided to stay away from.
There's a really rare Ultima 7 up on eBay right now. It's this weird dual pack that I've never seen it.
The Blackgate and the Forge. The double.
Did you see that too?
Serpent's Isle, or
Yeah.
No, it's the Serpent's Isle.
Yeah.
It's a weird pack that I've never seen before, and it was up to like $300 in like 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, Ultima's. I mean, Richard Garriott's got quite the following, I guess.
Yeah.
The Black
games.
The Black Gate was I had that game, one of the few that I did have, and that was so much fun. That was
Yeah.
We were.
I don't know. I didn't really pick up anything, Matt.
No wins? What? Stop.
Yeah.
You get
Day.
Oh, I bought Pokemon Snap on eBay tonight. That's strictly to buy it and try to sell it. I don't really give a shit. So.
Am I remembering correct that I once helped you get a Pokemon Stadium that was in a blister pack seal from France many years ago?
I remember that. Yeah.
It suddenly came back to me.
That's a funny story. There was this kid running around at a Portland Retro Gaming Expo one year. I had it on display, and this kid was running around trying to sell stuff or trying to see if people had anything to give away because he wanted to try to go and flip it and make money. And I had this thing there. I don't know what I paid for it then. Probably $50 or something from you. You got it and shipped it to me. But I just gave it to the kid, and then he walked around. He took it over to the Video Game Wizards booth and sold it to them. I was like, this kid's out here hustling at the end of the show. Now I look back, I'm like, why did I do that?
Good karma, you know. Yeah. In the end, the kid benefited one way or another, right? So
yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. It's just seeing somebody out there. You know, if I was his age at a show like that, I'd probably try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Peter, what do you got for wins? Do you have any wins this week? Anything?
Yeah, I did. Let me think what I picked up.
That you'd want to share anyway.
I never had the poster for Nobunaga's Ambition 2, and I didn't realize it. And I saw somebody locally selling Nobunaga's 2 cartridge with only the poster, and so I got that in. That was one thing, and I was really happy to finally get that poster into the game. I got probably a bunch of accessories. I'd have to look in another room where I can take a quick peek, and maybe there's something interesting. But off the top of my head, I got a bunch of memorabilia stuff in, small figurines from the early 90s. Nothing that I get really excited about, I would say. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There are some things on their way, but no, not the last couple of days.
So now you have to buy, or a lot of the stuff. Well, maybe a lot of the stuff you're getting is from the U.S. You have to deal with shipping a lot. Is that a big issue for you? Damage, opening up, that type of thing, or is it pretty good these days?
It's a world of its own in the sense that you have to learn by doing. There is no resource for this on the internet. There is no resource year to year because it changes. It's so dynamic. And I buy from, the things in my collection have been sourced from all over the world. I once looked at where I bought and sold, and it's around 80 countries. And so when you deal with all these different shipping services, you get better at it, at identifying which shipping service to use and which not. So I always try to avoid DHL and FedEx because they it's country specific, both sending and outbound and also inbound. What kind of tactics they use, or to inspect an item, a package. But for instance, for Belgium, so for anything from South America, where I don't have control over how it's being shipped, it will normally come with FedEx or DHL Express. I will ship it to the Netherlands or to Germany, because shipping it to Belgium is a guaranteed. They cut open everything. So if it's factory sealed item or if it's a box item, it will have massive cutting marks in it. And I've had factory sealed 6-packs from NES completely destroyed with the sealed stuff inside, destroyed because of it. And that experience, learning by doing, happens once or twice, and then you find a way around it. And so I tried it out by having these from those countries shipped to different countries in Europe where I have easy access, and that worked out favorably by figuring out that it's just Belgium where they somehow decides to destroy the incoming stuff. But yeah, you have to deal with other stuff. You have to deal with the customs. You have to deal, and they make mistakes, and they are, for profit basically. If you look at it from their perspective, so they have every incentive to not believe you when they can't make money off of it, and to again not believe you when they can make money off of it, right? So basically, if so for instance, if I buy something and people put far too high of a value on the package, and the customs puts a big fee on top, trying to convince them that the value is wrong is extremely difficult, even if you're legally in your right, because they will always come with the same answer. Well, the seller put this on there, and that's what we go by. But then if they deem that value too low, what the seller put on there, they'll never go by it, right? So it's this. They'll take it however it suits them, and that's especially in Belgium, it's been quite difficult. Yeah.
What if I send you a package and write "Happy Birthday" on a card and put a card in there? Is that going to get through easier than not putting a "Happy Birthday" card in there?
Yeah, there are ways around it. There are ways around it. Yeah.
I'm not suggesting to do that, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I've had a whole range of packages to arrive, and I think that there's all these little things, like if they see that there's if it's an even number, often they're less likely to believe it. If it's an odd number, then it seems too random. These kind of things. They go by package size. If the package is like a priority mail, that would fit like 1 or 2 NES cards, the standardized format, something like this, it'll always go through more or less. If it's bigger than that, you can guarantee that the customs will intercept the package. So size matters, type of shipping service matters. I prefer having things shipped with cheaper shipping services, because even if it's a cheap item, if it's an expensive shipping service, the customs doesn't believe it's a cheap item. And so you have to deal with all this back and forth. And the worst part of it is that they will charge auxiliary costs and fees for storage, for holding fees, and all these kind of things. And when you know that they are dealing with it, when they are inspecting it, they are opening it, they are handling it, and they don't care. At least from my experience, the people that they have working there, I don't think it's part of the training. I mean, I'm a little bit biased here because I've had some extremely bad experiences, but I get this feeling that they're not being told to be careful with the contents. Yeah. They probably have some form of insurance, or they assume that the package is insured, which often, of course, it's not, or not for the full amount necessarily. So it's something you really want to avoid, which is a shame. Yeah.
Well, no wonder you don't collect sealed Nintendo games.
It is actually, yeah.
It's
actually he does. All of his games have just been opened. So.
I mean, I do collect SIA to some extent, and I've started the last years a bit more in that direction. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, that's one of the main reasons why I prioritize other things. The cost was just, the risk was too high. Yeah. You're dealing with more expensive items. They're more likely to be intercepted. They're more likely to be opened. Just not worth the headache that came with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
The market has really boomed on that front, right?
Oh man,
yeah, we're really lucky here, Matt, with no customs and no fees on things when we get stuff. People, I buy stuff overseas all the time, and people are like, "Oh, what do you want me to mark customs?" I'm like, I don't care, whatever you want. We don't have duties or taxes on that stuff in the United States. So
yeah, I think Canada is a different story, right? That's the
Canada
stories for that.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of customs opening, I think Dan had mentioned, right, that quite a few SIA games have been sacrificed that way.
Yeah.
I've only experienced customs opening a sealed game one time, and it was The Sims for GameCube, mm-hmm. coming from Canada to the United States. It was $50. They opened it, and I messaged the guy that I got it from. I'm like, hey, is there anything you can do? He's like, no. I'm like, you're probably right. There's nothing you can do on this. So this is what it is.
Yeah, I think they just
Sucks.
need some kind of cause for concern or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What time is it for you over there? I imagine quite late, right?
12:46.
It's late.
Yeah, time for
12:46.
bed.
Yeah, it is. It is time for bed. But man, it's been a blast having you for sure. We want you back. Absolutely.
It's been wonderful, really.
It's awesome.
It's nice to be able to share these things, some of these things with people that know a little more about it. And because in my outside of the collecting community online, I don't interact with any collectors in real life, so to speak, right away from the digital world.
Yeah.
And so anybody who sees my collection, and it's people that are completely alien to the whole concept of collecting these things, and so always happy to share.
Well, I'm happy to see and learn, and yeah, I soak it up like a sponge. So yeah,
Yeah.
I have to say one more thing about your podcast. I was really happy when I started listening to the first one and the second, and I have to admit I've not caught up to I think the last two that you put out yet.
Okay.
But I think what you're doing is really wonderful. The topics you address, the angle you're taking, a more personal approach, of course, with the guests on here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very different from the hyped, the hyping movement that's kind of happening.
Yeah.
I think you brought that up in the beginning, right? On your talk about I think with Dennis on the ethics and stuff. But I think it's really wonderful. So really, thanks for inviting me and having me on here and for your time, of course.
Well, thank you. I know I appreciate that a lot. I know Josh and I just wanted to come at it how we come at anything, really. And I think I'm not going to speak for Josh specifically, but I miss the NintendoAge, the core of what it was. And I was hoping to bring a little bit of that back into here, with some humor, but with some cool information, and then just reintroducing a lot of those core NintendoAge people who are really, really awesome, and have them expose them to the rest of the collecting community out there, and show them a different side of collecting. So
yeah.
Thank you for coming on, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been fun talking. I'd love to get on here and talk Color Dreams and Wisdom Tree with you. I think we could probably spend hours.
I had
hours on that.
It was running when we're talking about the versions and stuff like this. There's just so much to explore and to share, I think. On that.
There is. I mean, and I feel like that's what a lot of the old community was based on, was discovering Color Dream variants. That was like really what the NintendoAge people were like, which color carts are there for these stupid things? And that's what it was in the beginning.
Remember the Robo Demons?
The Robo Demons, yeah.
The black Robo Demons.
Isn't it Metal Fighter? Isn't this the rarest black card at this point?
Yeah, it's Metal. I think it's Metal Fighter. Yeah.
4 or 5 of them.
Yes. Yeah. Robo
Jason
Demons,
I don't think Jason ever had one, because I bought his collection. There was not a black Metal Fighter.
No, it was Eric has one. I shouldn't say this out here. It's the only one I'm missing. I'm the rarest one I'm missing, and I think it's Metal Fighter. I had to think for a second. It's not Raid 2020 because I have that one. That one's also quite hard to find.
Eric will hear that you said that and send you a message. He will have listened to this all the way through to hear.
I do have a blue spiritual warfare that's 1.2, and I think the black ones are 1.3.
Okay, if you want, I can quickly check. I have a black 1.2. I found a spiritual warfare that I did not.
And it's blue.
Online. Yeah, the blue one. I don't have blue. That's absolutely amazing if that's authentic, and I'm assuming it probably is, but.
It's got a board. The board in it is the version isn't a version that's in the black ones. I know.
Okay. Yeah, the really rare versions, if we're on the subject anyway, are the ones that have EPROMs inside with a sticker. So they've been flashed and update it with a newer version. And those are, yeah, probably just manually made, and that's why they're so rare. Let me check. Here we go. So one of the things I do that I enjoy about the collecting is having nice spreadsheets and, you know, keeping things nice and organized, which I'm sure you both do as well.
Josh used to do spreadsheets.
I used to be really good at that, and then I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
My organization's getting better.
Yeah, it's an upfront investment, right? And then it's more or less maintenance. Oh, you said it's a 1.2?
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you have?
I've got the 5.1, the 6.0, 6.1, and then various versions of those with different back sides. And
this could be some early version of it that came from Brenda, and it was in a blue shell, and Jason had. So.
Yeah. It could be a prototype, right? In a way.
Yeah, it probably is.
We'd have to check. We have to check sometime. Not necessarily we, but I think in the community it would be nice to see when black started being used. You know, the black
the black shells. Yeah.
Yeah, and then see if that coincides a little bit with the release date of Spiritual Warfare, and if it doesn't, then you can safely, I think, assume that yours is a prototype.
Yeah, I'd probably have it in some of these documents when they started switching over to black versus blue, because I have PO numbers and things when they were ordering the shells and everything. It's really, really, like I said, a deep dive. You gotta sit here and digest all this information.
One thing that maybe for another episode or so, but somebody had found a prototype, a Color Dreams prototype that was in a shell from a pirate company, right? From these bootleg games. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And so I've been buying every bootleg game I find that's different that has that shell out of curiosity. Just for at some point, I'd like to take a look and see, where to see if that kind of plays a bit into the history of Color Dreams, because the back label, for instance, Color Dream blue cards, blue back label, black cards, black back label. Why was there a gray back label, right? That's because the bootleg cards were gray cards, and they have the gray back label, and that's actually an identical label. So my assumption is also there that the very first cartridges, and you see it actually with Color Dream, with Captain Comic, they had a different dust sleeve at the very beginning.
Yep.
That the very first edition is a blue cartridge with a gray back label, probably from that pirate outfit, until they made their own, I assume. But yeah, anyway.
I think it comes back to share data somehow.
Yeah. It's
I do.
I actually found a variation of not Death Race, no, it was Chiller, exactly, that I didn't pick up because I thought it was an upgrade. That's why I was looking at it. Then it soared, and then
it was the share data AG. It was the share data label on the AGCI cart shell, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
No, it's an actual AGCI label variant that I don't have right now.
Oh shit!
And there's no doubt in my mind that it's authentic, and it's a little bit bridging in the direction of share data. I only recognized it when it had soared. Then I was like, wait a second, that color looks a bit off. And then I was comparing it and realized, oh, it's so.
I think
the share data one actually. Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It was in Germany, German seller.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
And he had, I mean, I can be open about it. It's basically, have more people look for it. Shockwave and Death Race, they have the for play on Nintendo, not endorsed by Nintendo message in color. And Death Race has it, Chiller has it in black and white. The share data versions have it in color, I believe. And the one that I saw has it in color. And it has the AGCI flag and stuff in color, which I believe other versions have in black and white. I'd have to compare, but that was the big difference. And it didn't look fake at all. So, and it aligns with the labels for Shockwave and for Death Race. So, but even share data, there's multiple versions, right? make it a bit interesting as a.
Yeah, where's the box? Where's the box? Where's the manual? The Share Data Chiller.
I mean, there's an upside down version. There's a regular full label version, and then there's a 2/3 width version, right? That has different placement of items on there, so even a different label print.
I hate that game.
Yeah, I hate myself for I was traveling and I had found one and I was going to set a snipe and I forgot, and it sold for I think $130 6-7 years ago, and I was really bummed out.
I feel like I'm never going to get that game. But it's literally the air raid of Nintendo, the Share Data Chiller.
And the Wally Bear.
Yeah, the one Wally Bear.
Yeah.
But literally, a Share Data, at least I feel like I have a shot, maybe one day.
That's true. And the Share Data, at least you know where the order form was, right? In the magazines, you can mail order it. And I think Wally Bear is a bit of a question mark still. Yeah,
it's an enigma, so to speak.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Anyway, let's go down this road another night.
Yes, exactly.
This would be fun. So
sounds good.
Okay. Well, it's been fun, Peter.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate you, two people hanging in there till the end here, Dan and Eric, who are still watching. Leave your thoughts and comments below. How many of you want to see Pieter again? We want to see Pieter again, so we may or may not read those comments, but that's fine. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next episode. Take care.
Good night.